Mm-hmm.
We were able to get $2.7 million from the Arizona Smart Grant from ADOT. We were able to get $33 million from the state legislature. But with the cost of construction and inflation, our project went from $33 million to $62 million. So we've been submitting grants. This is the third year that we submit a raise grant. We're very happy for the other grants that have been received by the city of Yuma and Yuma County. I am concerned that it puts us at a disadvantage because there's funds that have already come, to this area, and I still need to cover that $25 million.
The decision shouldn't be made like that, though.
I hope so.
Yes.
It's not made like that.
So the decision should be merit-based, not based on how the region has already gotten funding. So we're happy to help follow up on this with you, Jenny, but it shouldn't be that just because the Highway 95 funding came that you won't get yours. That's not how it's supposed to work.
I'm really hopeful because we have received decrease and our application is right up the top. And so it's just a matter of funding. We have been submitting the rural transportation grant. This is going to be our third year submitting. Again, out of all the rural, out of 240 rural applications, we were the last 24 that made it all the way to the senior review.
Yep.
There wasn't sufficient funding, so only 12 got funded. So we're continuing to look for other sources of funds, maybe taking a look at other grants that maybe, it's $5 million here, $5 million there. The city has already invested about $6 million in right-of-way acquisition. This project had previously received federal funding for about $1.2 million for the NEPA and for the 30% design. So we're all here, trying to get this border completed because it's not just the border in the city of San Luis. It impacts not just the region by the state, and hence the reason why the state legislature committed to this $33 million. ADOT is helping. They are going to be our administrator for the project, but as much as we could think of facing that project, we need to widen that road. When we have 8 million people crossing the border with the port of entry, which we're very thankful that we were there for our ceremony, but we're going to have double of those people coming in, and they're going to hit that border, and it's going to be a bottleneck, and it's not just going to impact this area, but it's going to impact the state of the nation. So we would really appreciate your support. Your staff's been great about letters of support, and if there's anything else that we are not looking, other grants or other type of financing, we would be happy to discuss.
So I'll have my team continue to follow up with you on this. I think one of the things we might want to consider is, look, the fact that we were able to get the San Luis Port of Entry upgrade, as you know, the funding, the $152 million of funding for the first part of that came from my bipartisan infrastructure law. Helping the Department of Transportation understand that investment will only be fully actualized or realized if we also do this 5-mile boulevard is a conversation that I think is probably meaningful. Separate and apart from grant applications, helping people understand that investing in the port of entry has to go hand in hand with investing in widening of the boulevard. So I'd like to follow up with your team on that and figure out who at the Department of Transportation can we get in front of. As you know, the funding that we got for the port of entry was kind of two parts. We got it in the 2020 approach bill, and then we finished the funding in the bipartisan infrastructure law much faster than we anticipated. But I think we have to help our partners at DOT see that it won't make a difference if we have a bottleneck coming right out of it. Yeah. Okay. We'll follow up on that. Happy to help. Yeah.
Jay, would you like to?
Well, thank you for your support with our raise grant that we received with the Del Sol project. That project that we have to report is moving forward.
Good.
So we're moving forward with that now, and hopefully under construction sometime next year. So we're very, very thankful for your support of that. We are going to be looking for help with a possible land swap for our spaceport project in South County.
Okay.
The city owns a parcel of land that is adjacent to a state prison, and there's just a few miles away is a federal parcel that we would like to pursue, and obviously that takes a congressional act to do that kind of thing.
I'm good at that, Jay.
Yes, that's why I mentioned it to you.
Yeah. I was like, when do you think you'll have this ready, this language ready?
Very, very soon.
Good.
We're working with our representative. I don't know if you know Ron Ham in DC. He works very close with us. I think he's actually reaching out to your staff next week
Good.
Start helping us with that
Good.
process. So-
The sooner the better. I typically am able to get land swap language embedded in things like continuing resolutions or omnibuses when we move forward on the annual funding legislation. As you know, September 30th is our next big deadline. Now is the time to start.
We will definitely, now we know that deadline, we're good.
Good, good.
So no, we really do.
Putting myself a little note here.
And we are putting in an EDA grant for the tech hub. I know that's, very, very important for the continued efforts in our downtown, historic downtown, and economic development. So
Yep.
any support that you can help us with that, would be greatly
Yep, we will support that. Great,
appreciated.
awesome.
Alejandra?
Senator, thank you for coming down. It's always a pleasure to host you here in Yuma County. We are considered a non-attainment area for PM10,
Yeah,
as you probably know.
most of the state is, as you know.
Right.
I continually have a fight with the administration about this, and I told them that no matter what we do, we will always be in non-attainment because of the natural conditions and our proximity to Mexico, over which we have no control.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So you have it.
I understand it.
Yes.
This is a fight I'm having with them every day.
Right. EPA is not, they don't understand it. Unless, even if we moved out of Yuma,
Yes.
we'll stop meeting their
That's right.
numbers. So
And like other parts of the country, it's not like there are other mitigating efforts that we can take that would bring us into attainment. This is something I keep explaining to them, but they don't know anything about Arizona or farms or arid land or Mexico. Yeah, or
And the
California.
City of Cortez.
Yeah, they don't.
Not
This,
Cortez.
so, it won't surprise you, and, well, obviously, I'm very familiar with this issue, and I'm having this conversation not just with the EPA, but with the highest level administrative office officials in the White House. I've talked about this with the chief of staff to President Biden multiple times himself. He is not an expert on non-attainment or the EPA or PM10, but he is rapidly becoming one. Because what I continue to explain is that the EPA is proposing and implementing rules which make no sense whatsoever, and while they might be nice and aspirational, have no grounding in reality, and that we've got to make adjustments to acknowledge the reality of non-man-made situations over which we have no control. But what I would love, Alejandro, is any kind of continued detail, any kind of facts, any data that you have that shows all the work that Yuma County is doing to be as clean and as healthy as possible, and then showing that this is not about man-made activities. This is about the natural environment in which we live.
we're currently working with AEQ to come up with state implementation requirements that we're going to submit to EPA on the fall.
Yeah,
Just hoping that they understand that there's only so much we can do with the resources we have. We're hearing that they might ask us to do 3 miles of road paving every year, which will make no difference
right,
whatsoever, but we might be asked to do that.
yeah,
But yeah, I'll definitely keep your office in the loop. And,
great,
There's rumors now that 2.5 will also be an issue.
yes. I'm also addressing this with the administration. Have you had an opportunity to talk with Chris Phelan on my team? Okay, my team will connect you with him directly. He's the genius on this issue, and I would say I probably talk about this issue with the administration once a week. This is very, very frequent for me. Look, we can do everything in our power in Arizona and still not reach attainment. And that's important for the administration to understand. One last point I don't want to get too wonky, but there are other parts of the country where they can like trade credits because of manufacturing or other things that they do. We don't even have those industries in which to, like, there's nothing that we can do to change that, right? And so that's one of the things I'm explaining to them, is that we don't have other things we can substitute to buy or trade any kind of credits to get to a level of attainment, because we don't have, that's not why we're out of attainment. We're out of attainment because of the natural environment in which we live. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to invite him down here to Yuma too.
Thank you.
Like in August. So I'll have my team follow up with you. Louis.
Well, thank you again, Senator, for being here and taking these meetings with us. I think for Somerton, we see that, what's happening with San Luis and how that connection is coming.
Mm-hmm.
But we think that, we're working with the county and in San Luis, there's an E to D corridor that I think Jenny mentioned there's a bottleneck to open that.
Yes.
We need to continue to have that flow, and I think that's something that, we want to look at and see if you can support. We know that every year the race grant's very competitive, but I think this is just a continuation of what we're trying to do from the border to get it out to San Diego and California, to, like Jenny said, to Phoenix, to the rest of the nation. So I think that support would be great. Continue, I think we have a corridor that goes, our main street is our corridor that goes to San Luis. It goes right in the middle.
Yep.
We invite you to our tamale festival, so you can see. But
Problem is, I may never leave.
I heard you like green tamales.
You put me in front of a green corn tamale, I'm not leaving.
Well, the mayor said you're welcome to be a judge.
That's some pressure.
But just continue to support the downtown development of our cities, because I think that's vital to the economic growth that South County. I think that's important, and really just continue to promote our South County, the economic development that we have. The partnerships. I think that's one of the key elements of what we have here, is that we're all willing to work together and support each other as we go through this process.
Yeah, wonderful.
Dr. Cole.
Sure. Louis, I have been a judge of the Tamale Fest.
Oh, good.
And that's quite an honor until you have about your 50th taste of a tamale in one city.
But also, did you face repercussions based on how,
Anonymously, no. it's all anonymous, so yeah. We'll not lose any voters at the Tamale Fest.
to be clear, I would still vote for the best tamale. You just are like, oh no.
They're all good, better, best.
Did you really have 50 tamales?
How many vendors? 50?
Yeah, we have anywhere from 40 to 50 vendors.
So you don't eat the whole tamale as a judge, you just have a taste.
Okay, but what if you get to one that's really,
And you can ask for an extra one.
okay.
And then you visit that.
And then you visit
take
that
a
one
dozen
again.
home.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, it's not anonymous at all then. See that? See there?
That's
See
why
there?
you're the senator.
That's right.
No, you'll send your staff to go get some.
Yeah, no one will know who they are.
Like others, I'd like to welcome you back to Yuma and just appreciate all you've done for us here in this community. So I'm the proud president of Arizona Western College. 76% of our students are Hispanic. 72% are first generation, very first in their family to go to college. And we are the only growing and fastest growing community college in Arizona. So we're just crushing it here. We view ourselves as a big part of the economic development of this region. We think community colleges are the secret sauce to economic growth in Arizona and across the nation. A little disappointed that as part of the debt reduction deal, Department of Ed, particularly in their support of community colleges, seems to be that seems to be diminished.
Everything got eaten.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the debt limit deal that was passed earlier this year, that was very difficult to get done. As you know, things are dicey in
Absolutely.
DC. But pretty much everyone took a haircut, and it's one of the main challenges that we're dealing with the fallout from right now, is that the haircut went across the board, including defense, which is problematic, obviously, for a state like Arizona. Well, problematic for our nation, for our security, but it's particularly problematic for a state like Arizona, where we're, as we all know, 19th in population, but 5th when it comes to military contracting. So, so the haircut that you're feeling and seeing in that piece of legislation is across the board. So it's happening in our food programs, it's happening in grants that go out for local governments, I mean, it's happening everywhere. But I hear you, particularly because, as you and I both know, community college is the first stepping stone to help an individual gain independence and find a path to their own career. I mean, I'm a community college graduate myself.
Is
I don't
that
know if
right?
you knew that. Yeah.
Where?
So it's actually a small community college in Northwest Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, Okaloosa Community College.
Yeah, I used to work at Scottsdale Community College, and I know you've represented.
Yeah, but
their
God
work.
bless the artichokes. They're only down.
But now you're in home of the Matadors.
That's right, which is much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I love an artichoke, but really, your mascot, artichoke, yeah, they can't fight.
So we were certainly appreciative of the earmark congressionally
Yes.
directed funding that you sent our way last year.
Yes.
We will make extraordinarily good use of that.
Good.
And just look for any help you might be able to in the future as we look to build out our economic development
Yeah.
and support infrastructure here
Yeah.
in Yuma.
As you probably know, there's a group of us in Congress, both Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, who believe that community college investment is really critical for the skilling and reskilling to help us prepare for tomorrow's economic challenges. Particularly in Arizona, as we're one of the 2 states that is most rapidly growing in microchips and semiconductors. That training, as we know, is happening almost exclusively in community colleges. And we've got waiting lists that are just months and months and months long to train folks to work in those facilities, both in the big companies and the subs. So we've got to really beef up and expand the work we're doing at community colleges and doing more of what you are all doing innovatively, which is not just creating 2 or 3 or 4, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 1, 4 plus 0, but really thinking about how do we create stackable credits, how do we create stackable programs so that people can learn a skill, start earning money, and then go back and continue. That is the most creative, innovative change I've seen in community colleges in the last decade, and there's a large group of us who really want to invest more in that. We know that that is how we will be prepared to transition to tomorrow's economy.
And I know others want to talk. I will tell you that we created an entrepreneurial college at Arizona Western College.
Love
that
it.
will deliver credit, non-credit, just-in-time training to our business partners because we're blowing up the old traditions and replacing them with a speed of business approach to delivering education.
Which is exactly how it should be. I love it. I would love to have my team just follow up and learn a little bit more, because one of the things I like to do is brag about the great stuff that's happening. I think a lot of people don't know this, particularly folks who, many folks in our age range are not in college right now. And so they may not know that these programs exist. And these programs exist not just for young people who are exiting high school. These programs exist for people who are reskilling.
The muscle I was talking
That's right,
Yeah.
muscle.
Ritika Dewan is the CEO of the Entrepreneur.
Will you, I see your hand up, but would you tell me a little tiny bit about this before we move on? Because I really want to hear about this, and then we'll go to you next. Yeah?
So basically exactly same, creating more micro-credentials. This building where you are right now is a reskilling, upskilling center. Having an accelerator, having a food incubator, having a business incubator, having a micro-credential where they take one course just 4 weeks or 40 hours and go work right away. That's exactly the model we want. But also same time, when they take those credit or the 4-week course, they get the college credit and they can transfer towards their degree. So it's not just they took that and doesn't count towards anything.
Yeah.
It's just the certificate, they took some training, everything counts towards
Stackable. I love it.
micro-credential. And then having an opportunity to open their own business. So we have a SBGC director under us, so they can get the counseling right away if they want to open their own business.
Great.
So we will have that combination of programming where they can use our equipment if they are students for free of cost, so they can learn, they can open their small businesses right here in Yuma County. So that's going to be the collaboration right here. And then
I love it.
yeah. Even look at the funding also, as you said, I know you were the grant writer for ASU.
Yes.
So we are looking into how we can look for the long-term solutions, like how Perkins is one of the solutions, but it doesn't
Yes.
give that much of a funding to
That's
community
right.
college. Like 10% community colleges get out of the 100% in Arizona.
Right.
That's not enough amount of funding, but some federal money given for technical training permanently instead of going for a grant funding, which sometimes
I like that.
urban area are so competitive compared to rural area and we all just not get it.
That's right.
So if we,
Which, if you think about it, the rural areas are in greater need of it because they
Exactly.
don't have enough of a larger funding base to compensate for it.
like
Yeah.
both Intel training, TSMC, we can easily create those trainings,
Yeah.
but we don't have those funds sometimes to create and buy state-of-art facility or state-of-art
That's right.
equipment. And that's where we lag. And if we have those permanent funding, so we
Yep.
will be walking parallel to them.
I appreciate
I
that.
kind of want to go back to the cuts, and I'd like to ask Brian to speak, and then Gladys.
So wait,
Oh,
Oh, actually, I wanted to just brag about AWC because I'm from California and I actually love.
no one is going to hold that against you.
That's alright. I became a human, so I'm good.
Okay, good.
But I love that I found out that AWC partners with the 3 universities, U of A, ASU, and that I love that they all offer different degrees, so no one
Yes.
overlaps. So So I thought that was amazing.
Which is
I've never
great.
seen anything like that. And also I wanted to let you guys know that everything that we have today is actually all from small businesses that are local. And actually the fruit salad is from someone who I believe came to Small Business Center. And he was selling it from his taco cart, and so the fruit salad is
Oh,
actually
that's
from his
awesome.
thing. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks.
So we'll go Brian, Gladys, and Kristen, and Stephanie.
Great. Brian.
Actually, I appreciate you being here. I like the opportunity to